My guys, this is long overdue. I brought coffee and today we're talking about how to tell if your YouTube channel is on the right path to success. How do I know? I only have 4.1k subscribers. Well, you don't have to trust me. I've worked a lot with data in my life, and I also think it's kind of common sense to see that kind of thing. Just sometimes you need somebody to point it out, and it's not like something you get to while thinking in your bed. So sometimes it's just good somebody else points stuff out, like a friend. That's what we're doing here, because this podcast is not about me at the point where I already made it on YouTube. I hope this point someday comes, but it's not about that, because I was putting off this podcast for a while. I didn't want to do it, and I thought it makes more sense to have a podcast once you're kind of established, and then on top of everything you start a podcast. That's what everybody does. But then I thought, you know what, I want to listen to people who have the same issues than me, small creators, and there's really nothing out there like it. And so I just hope this keeps the perspective kind of normal and personal. Okay, all right, so that's what we're doing here. Anyway, let's go over my bullet points, right? Actually, I just saw a video of this guy about this exact topic, and then I stopped the video and I thought, let's make this podcast. His guy's Nick Nimmin. He's some super big, almost 1 million subscribers YouTuber in the niche of successful YouTubing and coaching and giving basically TED Talks on your channel, that kind of style. Which, no hate to Nick, but it's just not my favorite format. So for me, watching these emotional and motivating talks just doesn't do crap. I see that, I feel like, okay, great, it worked for you, but I am not here. I am here. What do I do? What do you know about me right now with my channel, my online presence? How can you even tell? Well, this worked with all of our clients and you just got to do this and then you're gonna be here too. It's not how it works statistically. Statistically, a lot of people just stay unsuccessful. So their biggest concern is the price question. Am I just about to break even with my YouTube growth? Or should I cut it off and leave this, or just leave it a hobby? Should I not pursue this as intensely as I am doing this right now? This is the most important question in my opinion, because coaches make it seem like you're just about to hit this sweet spot where your growth is going to become exponential. To that, I have to say, even if you grow exponentially for a little bit, it always levels off. It always does, because saturation is reached. And that saturation is not a global thing. It is not a global audience, because thinking of that, compared to your size as a small creator, the global community is infinite. But it is a small part which you can reach with your content at the stage that you are at, because your content is not awesome yet. So there will be these little spurs of growth every once in a while for every channel, but I don't really think that there is such a thing as this going viral break even point. In some channels, if you really have super awesome, interesting quality content and you're also a nice person that is just likable, that's the 3 magic ingredients, like awesome content, good quality, and your personality. If all of that is a match, then you are in for that. But unless you are not that, and you can't vibe with yourself, you can't watch your old videos and be like, oh yeah, I'm feeling it, I would subscribe to myself. Like, you're biased, so that doesn't count. I wouldn't ask this question in a way as in expecting somebody to tell you, yeah, you're about to be big. You're probably not for a long time. And even if you are, that can be very overwhelming. I had a growth spurt of like 1.5k people coming newly to my channel at one point, and it was just a lot of comments that I couldn't even answer all of them. And I really like to have it like just 0 new comments on my start page on the dashboard in YouTube Studio. I like it when there is just no new comment. Yeah, I'm over that, but it's still like, I feel like, oh, I wish I could answer every single comment, but I can't. So don't think of it that way. You can aim for that, right? It can be your goal, but you can't be disappointed if it's not happening, and if it's just happening in little birds. You can't be mad at yourself or YouTube or anything. It just doesn't do shit for you. Anyway, so I was watching this Nick video, and like 2 minutes in or something, what the guy was advising people is to follow YouTube news, to be active on the platform, comment, participate, be engaged, that kind of thing. And dude, I can't disagree more. Why is nobody talking about this, by the way? Like, it really baffles me that this is one thing that all of these coaches recommend to people, as in spend time consuming content instead of creating it and getting better at creating your content. That'll help with your views. No, it won't. Like, of course you can take inspiration, like in the prep phase, probably take some inspiration, but expect that you are not going to be as good as any of the YouTubers you are watching. So what you actually need is practice, hands-on camera work, and not waiting around until some really awesome idea hits you. That can even be damaging. Imagine you are at the point where your content is still shit and it's just badly lit, like this shot, because this is a podcast, obviously is for listening, so fuck that. So you're badly lit, bad audio, kind of lame and slow content. That's the stage your channel is in. And then you're like, oh, but I have this awesome viral idea and I'm gonna hop on this trend. People are going to jump off of your video after 30 seconds or earlier, because if the golden triage of personality, awesome quality, and what was it, interestingness, nice content, if it doesn't come together, nobody's gonna watch your crap. So it doesn't work that way. You have to have them all together, and you've got to work on that every day. So, or you got to work on making thumbnails, or yeah, it's not just research. The research, in my opinion, is like it's the last part. So for me, I only talk about topics that I can talk about easily. I would never pick topics for my channel at which I have no expertise. You know, I'm a Linux user, so I can talk a little bit about Linux. But to be honest, I still have the opinion that I'm just a piece of shit. Like Louis Rossman is always saying that on his channel. He thinks of himself as a piece of crap instead of being entitled, because I think like being entitled is the worst thing that you can do as a YouTuber, to feel superior to everyone else. And even if I come across like that in some videos because I'm just mad at something, or I'm on my period or whatever, so I'm just not in a good mood whenever that happens. And so if I'm filming something in that mood, yeah, it's okay for you if you comment that. I'm not gonna go feminist on you. Anyway, so unless I'm ranting, usually my premise to all content I make is I know nothing about this, or I know just a little bit about this, and I'm not expecting this to be mind-blowing to anybody. And but also don't humble brag. Like, that's the other extreme. Don't be like, oh, it's nothing. Like these girls in high school, and they always brought home the A's, and then they were like, oh, I'm so afraid of this exam, blah, 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 blah. And then it was like the best grade in the whole class. And, okay, yeah, shut up. Nobody wants to hear your story. So neither, okay? Anyway, back to this tip of analyzing other YouTubers. In my opinion, this can lead to analysis paralysis pretty fast, and then you're caught up in this, oh, I need to be perfect and I need to start doing things the way that those YouTubers do it, and you will just end up overthinking stuff. Of course, it is good to have concept and to also know what are your, 3 pillars of content. I think every YouTuber should know 3 things that are the most important to them and just focus on them. For me, it's like simple living, which includes minimalism and being environmentally friendly, and just not having any crap in your life, not wasting your time. And then it's free and open source software, which is just something I'm passionate about, and it's being outside. So the whole topic of my channel is just being an independent thinker and living more or less independent life, and just making the most of it. So that is not a niche, that's just my personality. And I also think that this is what any YouTube channel should be about, because a channel without a personality, that's just a newsroom and it's boring, and people will not stick around for your personality, and they will leave as soon as your content changes. For instance, I've been following some YouTubers who have become parents over the time, and even some of them became parents before I did, but I still followed these YouTubers around because I like their personality. I was absolutely not interested in the baby content, but I just like to listen to these people talking. So instead of just following what others do and trying to reinvent the wheel from your angle, just follow up on yourself instead. That is, watch old videos of yours and see how you developed. Like sometimes I watch old videos of mine and I think, oh, those were actually better than what I do now. I should bring this technique back, or I should do more of this, and this was actually fun to watch. I like that. And sometimes I'm like, oh, this is so cringe and awful, and I'm glad I'm better at cutting now. So yeah, that kind of thing. Just see where you came from. It's really motivating. It's more motivating than wasting a lot of time on YouTube. You should create more than you consume. I also think that reevaluating yourself all the time is a good thing to ensure quality. It's also really common that YouTubers are perfectionists and they just question everything all the time. At least I do, and I've heard that from many big creators, that they are just constantly questioning their decisions. Like, is this the right thumbnail? Is this the right topic? Did I word it correctly? Because people get hung up on one sentence in a single video and then they hate you for it. You gotta be like, okay, whatever. If you can't be like, okay, whatever, you can't be a YouTuber. Trust me, you cannot. You don't belong on YouTube if you can't shrug it off. And this whole idea of changing society and changing the internet for the better, and just everybody should be polite to me, and in an ideal world there would be no bullying. Yeah, that's very nice thought, and it's never going to fucking happen. So unless we come up with massive restrictions that then make everyone else miserable too, not just the bullies. And I'm not for that. I'm for freedom, and I'm for freedom of speech and just being chill. And if somebody is mean to you, then they can piss off, and you can tell them that. But personally, I wouldn't. Like on YouTube in comments, just as a piece of advice, don't react to the mean comments, just ignore them. You can dignify them with like a really quick and funny answer. Like that is the best way to deal with nasty comments, is just to make light of it, because that shows that you're not just one more miserable bitch or lad. So yeah, the key is constantly questioning and evaluating yourself while being mentally stable and becoming resilient, more resilient every day. If you are not mentally stable, YouTube is not a good place for you. It can be very soul-sucking and very exhausting, because especially if you are going for this like a part-time or full-time thing. Like me, I want to make this my part-time thing because I don't want to work full-time. I find working full-time in the tech industry soul-crushing. I don't want to sit on a computer every day just doing this and getting a really horrible back pain. So, I mean, editing is not much better, but it is, I can do it whenever I want. That is the big power of being independent. You can work whenever you want. I have ADHD and I'm always tired in the morning, and sometimes I'm a little bit depressed, so I prefer working in the evening. It just works for me. And so for my mental health, doing YouTube is actually a lot better than working a 9-to-5 job. And I'm not shitting on 9-to-5 jobs. In fact, I would say you should keep YouTube a hobby as long as possible, because if you can rely on a solid job for your income, that takes away a lot of the pressure and gives you more creative freedom, which will also set you on a path of success. So if you find yourself in the position that you are already kind of all in with your YouTube, that you're not making any money, that is very stressful, and it's not a key to success. So if you can change that just by a little, just by, doing a yard sale or whatever, just bring in a few $100 so you can buy some equipment or, take up part-time work, do whatever it takes, but take away some of that pressure because it's not doing you a favor. So, Dina, are you saying that mentally unstable people should not be on YouTube? Yep, that's what I'm saying. But isn't that like exclusive and mean? No, it's not. If you are having problems with your vision, should you be a fighter pilot? Like, if you're not up for mean comments, people being very direct, people taking you up on minor discrepancies in like one expression here and another there, yeah, then this is not a good place for you. You gotta work on that. You can work on that while doing YouTube and ease into it, but if it is giving you sleepless nights already and you're 1 week in, work on your content, work on yourself. Maybe do like 20 videos before you publish them. But the mean comments are always going to stick with you much more than the nice comments. You really have to learn how to overlook that and forget those. Personally, I learned how to forget mean comments. I just don't remember much of it. And sometimes I even just delete it, not because of censorship, just because I don't want to read them again. And they're just insignificant to me because it's mean, like people calling me some slur or something. literally my content is not that problematic that it's even justified. So at this point, I'm like, okay, whatever, you don't deserve to be on this page. This is my page, piss off. Oh, by the way, here is one thing that in my opinion is really a good indicator of your channel being on the right path. That is when you read these comments saying like, oh, I'm so glad I found your channel, or you are a pearl, or you giving me hope that YouTube is not total crap. And like, I get some of these comments from people, or people call me based, and I don't know what that word exactly means, like fact-based. I don't know, I'm not a native English speaker, so, but it sounds like, you know, people are saying that it's, yeah, chill content, I guess. And so when I hear these comments, I try to take those to heart, but not to head, as in I try to be happy about this kind of commentary, but not be like, okay, I'm so awesome, I'm the next big thing. But if you are getting more of these and people are being happy and grateful for your content, that means your content is actually cheering up other people. For instance, I have some tech videos that are advice or tutorials, and I got super thanks on those. So if you are getting super thanks, you are on the right path, because people find this verifiably helpful. This is a measurable variable that you can observe while you are growing your YouTube channel. If you're looking at your data, you gotta ask yourself, which are my most helpful videos and why? And helpful doesn't mean that it has to have a certain amount of like purely hard skill content, advice, or that kind of thing. It can also mean that you're just entertaining, you're making people laugh, or they just agree with you on some topic they find interesting. Like, everything can be of value to a viewer, or just some people, they message me like, I just like to listen to you talk while falling asleep. And so this is how I approach my podcast as well. I think like, if somebody's up for just listening to me talking, or if it helps them fall asleep, so be it. That's fine with me. I really don't care when people are listening to this podcast. I mean, sure, it's nice if somebody finds some insight in it, but I am not trying to make them as dense as possible. I'm trying to make them as listenable and relaxing as possible. I hope this works. Let me know in the comment if you find my podcast chill, or if I should do something different. Let me know. So the next point, and I also think that this Nick guy mentioned that in his video, is about being structured or well organized. And that is something I agree with, but after that I just stopped watching the video because I don't want to copy somebody else's content. But yeah, organize your ideas and your whole work, and even just brands to work with. Like, I have a whole folder of just brands I like, and I save information on products, internet addresses of them, ideas, and text files in this folder for all the brands. If at some point I'm above like the 10 or 20k follower mark, then I will contact these brands. Not before that. I find that really ridiculous. I also think it's really bad advice when people are telling small YouTubers to just go out there and just contact brands if you are a micro influencer. There is no such thing as a micro influencer. It's just great for brands because they can lowball you, and yeah, it's also a lot of work to put in just to get some free products, or like $500, of which you then have to pay 50% in taxes. No thanks. Just get a job. Like, get a job, buy a good camera from that money. That is the better investment in your YouTube channel, and not brand deals while you are at 500 subscribers. It's stupid. And maybe there are some exceptions, like, oh, look, I got this deal when I was still very, very small. How many emails did you have to write to get that deal? Did you timestamp that? How much work did you actually put into it? How much work was a single video? And what do you think somebody makes on that once they already have the subscriber base? No, it's still not worth it. I don't believe it. Anyway, but if you are an organized person, it's a good indicator that you are going to make it on YouTube, as in you're going to be persistent on YouTube. And you have to be, because it's a constant struggle, and as I said, it can be not so great for your mental health. And so many people underestimate that it takes just the same amount of persistence as a 9-to-5 job. With your 9-to-5 job, you get up, you get dressed, you go to work. And if you don't have that discipline with your YouTube channel, you're not going to make that your job. Then leave it as a hobby. Remember the price question when I said, am I about to make it? Do I have the potential to make it on YouTube? Am I making a mistake if I stop taking YouTube seriously right now and just leaving it be? Or am I about to go viral? Nobody knows that, but I can tell you that if you are not structuring your work, you will probably never go viral. And if you do, because you have just stepped on some awesome piece of content, you will be totally overwhelmed with the work that comes with it, as in brands reaching out for you. Remember the brand folder? You don't know who to work with, you've never heard of these brands, whatever. Remember structuring your ideas for future videos. And then also, if you are in general not a well-structured person who can organize their tasks, you're going to be totally overwhelmed. You're not going to know what to do next. For instance, for me, I had this one video go viral about Linux, and I always wanted to make a little bit of Linux content, which is why I already had 5 more video ideas in the back of my head that I then filmed, and they also did kind of well. And that worked for me. Am I uber successful? No, but it's going okay. Right? Like 1 year ago, I had 0 Patreons. Now I have 10 and a bunch of YouTube members. That's a huge increase compared to 0. And you know what I did different just to get members and Patreons? I offered bonus content. The thing that I didn't want to do because it was so much work. And I was hesitant and I was thinking it's never gonna work. And now you know what my Patreons enjoy? It's just talking content and sharing personal stories and opinions. And it just comes with having a bigger following that you reach those few people who really just adore your content. I have supported other creators in the past when I just wanted to see their bonus content, and I thought, well, I can afford it at this point in my life and I want to support this person, or I want to buy art from them in a way, like buy a comic one time or something like that. And this is how everything works in social media. You want to reach a few people who are going to support you, watch your ads, give you likes, comment on your content, or buy your book even, or something like that. I'm not even connecting that to income just yet. I mean, this is awesome if you can generate income doing that, but I don't like to see people as vectors of income. I just like to see them as a community, because that is what I really enjoy most about this. Like it's still, for me, it's still like I feel bad receiving money from these people, but on the other hand, I'm super grateful and I think, wow, this is awesome. And then I'm asking myself, would I do this myself? And I'm like, yeah, actually, I would. And I can understand why some people want to support some other people. I might not understand why they would support me, but I like other content creators too. And if some YouTuber out there that I really liked would say, I don't have time to make all my videos public and some of them are very personal, but if you give me $2, you can watch them, I would consider watching that just because I like to listen to this person talk. So yeah. Never underestimate your personality if you have one, and try to develop that along with your skills. Just don't try copying others. It's also why I really don't like coaches, because this whole YouTube coaching thing, it just leads to overthinking and it leads to copycats and copycat behavior. You might even end up changing your personality because you find somebody else who is in your niche, who is successful with some kind of personality trait, like just being super outgoing or loud or a little bit cringy, and you think like, I'm a little bit like that, I can do that too, and then you try to do that. Someone who did, like, not 100% aware of it, but like, oh yeah, I think this is, I can do this too. It never works. It comes to kick you in the ass later, and it's also weird with your audience. Like, if you present yourself in a certain way, that will attract a certain audience, and it's not the audience that you match with the most, speaking from your personality type. And you really want to find these people, like your friend group, you want to find them just on social media too. And so yeah, if you're not listening to coaches, in my opinion, it's a good thing. It's an indicator that you might become successful because you're doing your own thing. And doing your own thing is the most authentic decision you can make. I'm not saying you can't learn from others, but when you do, try to do it like when you are learning from a friend. Let's say you go fishing with a friend. I know nothing about fishing, but let's say you go fishing. Your friend is telling you how to bait this certain fish. I really don't know shit about fishing. And he's describing you what bait to use. Like, is it called bait? Like the little things that you throw in the water? Yeah, I don't know. And so you're listening and you're, yeah, okay, all right, I'm going to do that. But you're also going to learn from just seeing what your friend does and not necessarily imitating it, maybe doing some of the things differently, how they work best for you. But you're not going like, okay, I'm just going to buy the exact jacket that you have. I'm going to buy the exact fishing hook that you have. Well, maybe you're going to do. And you can do that with cameras, but you can't do that with personality. You know, you can't go around, watch some YouTuber and go, oh, look at Peter McKinnon. He has such a nice personality. I want to do that too. I'm going to move to Canada and be Canadian. Like, no. I also kind of disrespect most YouTube coaches because they don't really do their own content. I mean, a few of them do, and they're doing some vlogging, but look at their vlogs. Usually they really do like shit and nobody watches it. They don't have a lot of experience with creating their own content. I mean, their content is to coach others and how to make content. This is some major inception. No. I mean, I respect somebody who has done their own thing in the past or has a second channel, but somebody who only advises others, that's very theoretical in a way, or very analytical. It can work, you know. I don't say that it couldn't. I mean, you don't have to be mentally ill to be a psychiatrist, right? To understand mentally ill patients. But it certainly helps if you didn't have the most boring life and never had any issues with anything. You will be more empathetic. And so I would always take advice from somebody who has actually been there over advice from somebody who just started making coaching content and becoming successful doing that, because a lot of people don't think they know what to do. And that is mainly because they are not willing to do their own reading, as in reading up on how to use gear and getting into storytelling techniques or whatever is their subject, or they're just not good at creating their content. As for instance, if you don't know anything about, let's say, cameras, and you want to make a channel about cameras, it's not going to work. You got to pick a subject that you are naturally good at and you already feel like you know everything about. Otherwise, you're also gonna get massive imposter syndrome, which, yeah, is also exhausting. So yeah, that's it. Get a job, do YouTube as a hobby, and be happy.